What happens when a 71-year-old father is quietly forced out of his own home in the name of care? He had no idea his silence would turn into a viral protest that flipped everything upside down. Let me tell you something up front. I didn't expect applause for bringing in a neighbor's trash cans. I didn't expect a parade, or a thank you card, or even a goddamn nod. I just did it because it was the decent thing to do. It was early. Frost still clung to the grass like winter didn't want to let go. And there I was, in my flannel robe, shuffling across the street with my thermos of tea. Mrs. Kellerman's trash bins were still sitting by the curb, forgotten again. Her hip's been bad since October, and last week she nearly slipped trying to drag one of them in. So I did what any good neighbor would do. I grabbed the bins, wheeled them around to the back of her house, and figured maybe I'd earned myself a few karma points with the man upstairs. That's how my day started. What happened next? That's when the floor dropped out from under everything I thought I knew. A silver SUV came flying around the corner like it was late for its own funeral. Tires screeched. Brakes screamed. I barely had time to turn my head before the driver's side window came down. "Dad, what the hell are you doing?" That voice, my youngest, Brandon, always had a bark, even when he was 5 and shouting at pigeons in the park. I looked at him, still holding the trash lid. "I'm helping Bernice. Her hips—" He cut me off. "You shouldn't be out here alone." That was the first sign. The tone. The way he didn't ask how I was, or say hi, or offer me a ride. Just straight into criticism, like I was a child playing in traffic. "You're 71, he said, as if I'd somehow forgotten. "You left the oven on last month. You nearly gave Julie a heart attack." "I turned it off myself," I said, "and I was making soup." "You forgot the pilot light, Dad." I didn't forget. I just didn't see it. That's different. Brandon got out of the car and walked around, shaking his head like he just caught me shoplifting. "Get in. We need to talk." I should have said no. I should have told him to shove his talk somewhere sunny and private. But I got in. Because that's what I do. I comply. The inside of his car smelled like fake pine and something artificial, like ambition in aerosol form. His wife, Stephanie, was in the front seat. Didn't even turn around when I got in. Just stared at her phone like I was invisible. "We've been talking," Brandon started, "and I swear to you, my stomach dropped 3 stories in 1 second. If you're over 70 and someone says, 'We've been talking,' brace yourself. It never ends well." "You're not safe living alone," he continued. "We found a place. It's got a great reputation. Clean, modern. You'll have your own space. Activities." Activities. Bingo and group naps, I assumed. "You mean a home?" He winced. "An assisted living facility." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. I can still drive. I mow my own lawn. I shovel my sidewalk. "You fell down the stairs last year." "One time, and I bounced." Stephanie chimed in. "It's not about what you can do. It's about what you might do. The risk." Oh, the risk. God forbid a 71-year-old man trip on a sock and upset the family schedule. Brandon handed me a brochure like he was selling me a timeshare. Westridge. Upscale retirement community. The pictures were all staged. Smiling old people throwing beanbags and learning to paint sunsets. "You already booked a tour?" I asked. He nodded. My voice shook. "Did you ask me?" Silence. That's when I knew. This wasn't a conversation. It was a presentation. They had already decided. My things would be boxed. My bank account would be monitored for safety. My house, the one I paid off over 30 years with calloused hands, would be sold while the market's hot. My children weren't concerned. They were inconvenienced. I didn't speak the rest of the ride. They pulled into Westridge like it was Disneyland. The place was clean, sure, sanitized, quiet, dead quiet. The kind of quiet you get in a museum or a morgue. The front desk clerk smiled too hard. The nurse gave me a tour like she was showing me a jail with flower wallpaper. "Every room has an emergency button," she chirped, like that was a selling point. In the hallway, a man in a wheelchair looked at me and said, "New meat?" I didn't answer. We left after 20 minutes. Not a word was said, not even from Stephanie, which was maybe a blessing. When I got home, my home, I went to the kitchen, made another cup of tea, and just stood there. Everything I had built was now subject to a vote I was never invited to. Brandon came back that evening, alone this time. He handed me a piece of paper, a schedule, movers, cleaners. "We'll help with the transition," he said, as if he was doing me a favor. "You think I can't take care of myself?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he said it. The words that broke everything. "You're not the man you used to be, Dad." That was it. Just 7 words. Simple. Flat. Like it meant nothing. But it meant everything. I had survived wars, buried a wife, raised 3 kids with hands that never once hit, only held. I'd fixed their bikes, paid their tuitions, loaned them money I never asked to be paid back. I had been there. But now I was a burden. And that's how it starts, folks. Not with a fall. Not with memory loss. With a sentence. You're not the man you used to be. What happened next changed everything. You don't want to miss how it all unfolded. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table like I had every morning for the past 40 years. Same chair, same mug, same creaky floorboard under my right foot. But this time, everything tasted off. Even the damn tea. Too bitter. Or maybe it wasn't the tea. Maybe it was the fact that I was being evicted from my own life by people who once cried when I scraped my knee. It didn't take long. By noon, Brandon was back. This time with movers, professionals. You could tell by the gloves. Matching uniforms. Those moving belts they wear like they're about to deadlift a Buick. They walked through my home like it was a warehouse. Touched everything. Judged everything. "This one's fragile," one said about the record player. "Not that one," I muttered. "That one's mine." Brandon smiled like I was 6 and throwing a tantrum over a toy. "Dad, we talked about this. Number you talked. I was talked over." I watched them pack Margaret's quilt, hand-stitched, took her 2 winters to finish it, into a plastic bag, like it was laundry. I wanted to yell. Instead, I swallowed it, like I always did, like we were taught to do. Be a man. Be calm. Be quiet. Stephanie came in around 1 o'clock with a clipboard and a latte. She didn't say hi. She said, "We need to sign a few things." I almost asked if she brought a notary and a shovel, since she was apparently burying me alive. She sat me down at the table. Legal papers, printed in 12-point font, but carrying the weight of a wrecking ball. Transfer of property, financial guardianship, medical power of attorney. "Just standard," she chirped. Standard? I looked at her. Really looked at her. This was the same woman who once cried when I gave her Margaret's lasagna recipe. Now she was signing off on me like I was a used car with too many miles and a busted tail light. "You already added Sarah to my bank account," I said. Stephanie didn't flinch. "It's precautionary." "No," I said. "It's control. You want the keys before I've even finished the drive." She smiled politely, but I could see it. The flinch behind the eyes, the twitch of guilt, or maybe annoyance. Hard to tell with her. By 3 p.m., the walls were bare. My medals, packed, my photo albums, in a bin labeled memory. My favorite chair? Too old for the unit. Everything was either boxed, donated, or declared non-essential. Apparently, my whole damn existence was non-essential. I tried to hold it together. Really, I did. But when they rolled my recliner out the front door, something snapped. "That chair," I said, voice low. They stopped, looked at Brandon. He gave them the nod. "That chair," I repeated, "is where I sat when I held my first grandchild. That chair is where I read the paper every morning for 30 years. That chair knows me better than you do." Brandon sighed. "Dad, it's not going to fit in the new unit." "Then maybe I don't fit either." He looked at me like I'd just grown a second head. "Don't be difficult." "Difficult?" I barked. "You break into my life, dismantle it piece by piece, and I'm being difficult?" Stephanie stepped in. "We're doing this for your own good." Ah, yes, the anthem of all invaders, for your own good. "I don't need a babysitter," I said. "I don't need bingo nights or yoga with strangers. I need my damn life back." "Dad, calm down." That's when I stood up. "No," I said. "I won't calm down. Not when you're steamrolling everything I built just because I'm inconvenient now." Stephanie's phone buzzed. She picked it up like I wasn't even there. Brandon checked his watch. The movers kept moving. "You ever feel invisible in your own home?" I did. But not just invisible, irrelevant. A man reduced to a checklist, a folder, a box. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not in the bed, not with the house so hollow. So I went out to the porch, sat on the steps like I used to when Margaret was still alive, and we'd listen to the crickets. The stars were out, cold and quiet. And I thought, how did we get here? I raised them. I wiped their noses, sat through school plays and hospital visits and breakups and stupid tattoos. I didn't say no when they needed money. I didn't complain when they moved away. I didn't protest when birthdays became texts. And now? Now they were burying me alive with signatures and smiles. But you want to know the worst part? I believed them. For a moment, I really did. Maybe I was old. Maybe I was slipping. Maybe I did need help. That's how they get you. They don't strip your dignity with a knife. They do it with a teaspoon, one scoop at a time, until you're sitting on the porch at 2 a.m., wondering if you were ever really in control of anything. But here's what they didn't count on. I'm not done yet. We're heading straight into the storm now. Everything they built? It's about to collapse. The real fight begins in the next part. Don't miss what happens when I stop playing nice. If you've ever watched your own life get folded, taped shut, and stacked in the back of a moving truck like it was a shipment of expired inventory, then congratulations, you already know how I felt the morning I left. Stephanie called it a smooth transition. Brandon said I should be grateful for how seamless it all was. Seamless. As if cutting a man out of his own history could ever be smooth. They dropped me off at Westridge with the kind of cheerfulness reserved for school field trips or airline commercials. I stood there, suitcase in hand, staring at a brick building that looked like a cross between a hospital and a high-end prison. They didn't even wait for me to check in. Just a quick hug, a shallow goodbye, and off they went. Back to their lives. My new room had a view of a parking lot and a television bolted to the wall. The mattress was plastic wrapped under the sheets, like they were afraid of spills. I spent 10 minutes trying to figure out the thermostat, and another 15 explaining to a nurse that, no, I did not need help showering. Day 1, and I already wanted to burn the place down. At dinner, I sat alone at a table while a group of residents bickered about pudding flavors. One man, Roy, I think his name was, tried to explain how the staff listens to suggestions. A woman across from him muttered, "Only if you suggest dying quietly." I didn't laugh, but I respected it. Later that night, I walked the halls. Sterile, silent, no laughter, no kids running, no barking dog at the door, just wheels squeaking and TV static leaking through half-open doors. A nurse asked me if I wanted melatonin. I told her I wanted my house back. She smiled like I was adorable. By day 3, I figured out the schedule. Breakfast at 7, blood pressure checks at 9, chair yoga at 10. If you're lucky, they don't confuse your pills. If you're unlucky, you spend lunch trying to convince someone you're not their dead husband. They assigned me a care counselor named Emily. She was 26, full of sunshine and buzzwords. "Clarence," she said, tapping her iPad, "let's talk about your adjustment process." "My what?" "Your adaptation to the facility. Emotionally, socially." "Sweetheart," I said, "I adapted to Normandy in 1945. This ain't that." She blinked. "Oh, I didn't realize you were a veteran." I just stared at her. I didn't realize I needed to pass some kind of resume test to get basic human dignity. Later that afternoon, I called Brandon. No answer. I called Julie. Voicemail. I texted Sarah. "Please bring my photo albums." No response. 3 days, 3 kids, 0 calls back. I guess I was really retired now, not just from work, but from relevance. The next morning, I decided I'd had enough. I wasn't going to spend my remaining years being spoon-fed mashed potatoes by a guy named Daryl who couldn't remember my name. I asked the front desk if I could leave for the day. They told me I needed family approval. "Excuse me?" "I'm not under lockdown," I said. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore, but for liability purposes, we require—" "No, you require basic respect, and I'm walking out that door with or without it." Apparently, that got me a behavioral note in my file. I told them to write it in cursive, so it at least looked classy. I made it halfway to the bus stop before my knees reminded me I wasn't 40 anymore. But I made it. Took 2 transfers and a lot of, "Excuse me, sir, do you need help?" No, I need people to mind their own business. But I got there. Home. Well, what used to be home. The house was empty. "For sale," sign in the yard. Dead grass. My mailbox had been replaced. The new one was modern. Stainless steel. Cold. Soulless. Like everything else. I looked through the window. The living room was hollow. Echoed. Stripped of memory. That's when it hit me. They weren't just removing me from the house. They were erasing me from it. And I let them. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone and did something I hadn't done since Margaret passed. I opened Facebook, logged into my dusty old account and posted a picture of the house. Caption: "This is the home I built with my hands. My kids decided I didn't belong here anymore. They're selling it while I'm alive." I didn't expect much. Maybe a few likes from my bowling league buddies. By morning, it had 4,000 shares. Turns out people like a little injustice with their coffee. I woke up to messages. Former students, neighbors, even a couple of local reporters. One woman wrote, "This is what terrifies me about aging." Another, "They did the same to my father. He died within 6 months." And just like that, I wasn't alone. I went viral. Me. Clarence Whitmore, old man with a flip phone and orthopedic shoes, was trending. They called it senior eviction, hashtag and everything. Emily called an emergency wellness meeting. "Clarence," she said, tone full of concern, "your online activity is causing distress among your family." "Good," I said. "You're violating facility policy." "Then kick me out. I dare you." She didn't. Brandon showed up the next day, fuming. "Dad, what the hell is this?" I sat in the common room, surrounded by residents who were suddenly treating me like a celebrity. "It's called truth, Brandon. Try it sometime." "You're making us look terrible." "No, son. You're doing that all by yourself. I'm just holding up the mirror." He lowered his voice. "You have no idea what you're doing." "I have every idea," I said. "I may not be the man I used to be, but I still know the difference between love and convenience. You didn't move me out because I was unsafe. You moved me out because I was in the way." He said nothing, and I let that silence do the talking. "We're not done yet. The final chapter is coming, and the consequences are real. Stay with me to see how it ends." I didn't start a movement. I started a confession. People kept messaging me after that post. A woman from Kansas told me her son changed her medication without asking. A retired fireman said his kids took his car for safety reasons and never brought it back. Someone else wrote, "They moved my dad into assisted living while he was in the hospital. He didn't find out until he came home and the locks were changed." It wasn't just me. That was the saddest part. And once I saw that, something in me hardened. Not bitter, but steel. I had been raised to believe that dignity is earned, that if you spend your life doing the right things, working hard, raising your kids, paying off your mortgage, people will respect you. Turns out, respect has a shelf life, unless you fight for it. So I did. The facility tried to make me take the post down. I told them they'd need a court order and 3 cops with backup. I started filming the lunches, microwaved, gray, and slightly insulting, and posted those too. I reviewed bingo night like a bad restaurant experience. I turned my quiet, enforced retirement into a series of monologues. Clarence Speaks. That's what my niece started calling it. My following grew. So did my confidence. And Brandon? He stopped calling altogether. That was fine. Silence from people who disappoint you is a form of healing. But Sarah called, after 2 weeks. "Dad, can we talk?" "I'm listening." She hesitated. "I didn't know. Not really. I just thought we were doing the right thing." "Thinking without asking," I said. "That's what led to this." She didn't argue. That surprised me. "I'd like to visit," she said. "Don't bring paperwork," I said. Or a tone. When she showed up that Saturday, she wasn't wearing her work face. No blazer, no forced smile. Just a cardigan, messy hair, and a box of my photo albums. "I brought these." I took them, sat down, and opened the first one. There we were, young, at the beach, covered in sand. She was 5, holding a seashell like it was a diamond. "You were a hell of a kid," I said. She smiled. "You were a hell of a dad." For the first time in a long time, I believed her. She didn't stay long, but before she left, she said something that stuck with me. "We forgot you were still you." That's it. That's what happens. You age, and people see your wrinkles, your meds, your slower gait, and they forget. They forget the decades behind those eyes, the wisdom, the pain, the victories no one clapped for. They stop seeing the person and start seeing the paperwork. That Monday, I started something new. I launched a weekly video called The Old Man's Guide to Staying Loud. It wasn't about rebellion. It was about relevance. I talked about everything: surviving grief, cooking for one, spotting emotional manipulation by your own family. Sometimes I was funny. Sometimes I was angry. Always, I was honest. Within a month, I had 60,000 subscribers. They called me America's Grandpa. I called it justice. The facility changed its policy on family power of attorney after public pressure. They repainted the walls, upgraded the food, even gave us a vote on activity planning. I suggested poker. We got poker. And Brandon? He showed up. Not with flowers, with paperwork. Dad, he said, the house isn't selling. Good, I said. I don't want to fight. Then don't. He sighed. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's the thing, I said. You didn't need to mean it. You just did it. We sat on the bench outside the facility. It was cold, but I didn't mind. For once, I was in control of the weather. I saw your videos, he admitted. Then you know who raised you. He nodded. I don't know if we healed, but we at least stopped bleeding. A month later, I moved out. I found a small rental in the same neighborhood I used to live. Not my old house, but not far from it. The landlord was a retired electrician named Pete. We watched baseball together and swore at commercials. I wasn't alone anymore. Not because people returned, but because I returned to myself. I even got invited to speak at a local college. Aging with Dignity. That was the panel title. I told them dignity isn't a pillow. It's a sword. If you don't fight for it, someone's going to stuff it in a closet and tell you to be grateful. Afterward, a student came up to me. You're inspiring, she said. I laughed. I'm angry. That's different. No, she said. You're seen. And that's what people want, to be seen. She got it. And maybe now, so will the rest. Because I'm not the man I used to be. I'm better. This story may be ending, but if it stirred something in you, don't scroll away. Stay loud. Stay seen. And never, ever let them put you in a box before you're done living.